What is up, everybody? It is PK from PK.MMA Picks. Today is the day we are finally getting back to the YouTube channel. A lot of you guys know me from Instagram over at PK.MMA Picks. If you haven't already, please go give me a follow over there. But today marks the day we're crossing over the YouTube platform. I've had a lot of positive feedback from you guys on what you would like to see from videos, and hopefully I'm going to try and tailor that over the next couple of videos. But the goal is we're going to do a weekly breakdown. This week, obviously, going into UFC, and in those weekly breakdowns, we're going to go over who I think is going to win in the fight, but more so also good betting spots in the fight. One fun participation thing that I'm going to try and get you guys involved in is a weekly amount of likes that I would like to see on the videos. If you guys hit that goal for the weekly amount of likes, I will drop all of my bets and plays free over on my Instagram towards the end of the week, depending when you guys hit the mark. Before the fights actually start. So you guys can get my whole card free over there, no charge whatsoever. This week, for example, I would like to see 25 likes on this video. This is the first video. Hopefully you guys can come out, show some love, reach that 25 like mark. I'll release all my plays this week for all MMA, that includes PFL, for free. So I'm really looking forward to it, and without further ado, let's get into breaking down some fights. First thing I do want to mention, I use Bovada as my sportsbook. I've had a lot of you guys reach out to me asking what sportsbook I use, what sportsbook is best. I think they have great odds as well as really, really great props when it comes to MMA. They have really great round props that I put out on a weekly basis that you can only find on Bovada, such as over 1, over 2 rounds, things like that. But if you guys are interested in joining, please reach out to me. I will give you my referral code. It'll get you a 100% sign-on bonus up to $100, as well as help me out as well. So if you deposit $100 on your first deposit using Bovada, they will match you. You will have $200 in your account to start. It's really great. They offer a lot of really great rewards, incentives, but like I said, overall, the best book I have used, and I've used quite a few for MMA odds. Now, moving over, we got a great card here. UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Chikadze. This is going to be a great event, so let's break it down, guys. Starting with our first fight, we have Mana Martinez versus Guido Canetti. We're going to start with Mana Martinez. And for odds for each of these, I'm going to try and bring them up over on bestfightodds.com. This is really great to see which books are offering which lines. It has been slacking a little bit lately. You might have a little bit of trouble finding all the lines. However, we're going to take a look here. So, Mana Martinez, we have best fight odds at minus 320. Guido Canetti coming back at a plus 290 underdog. So, clearly some love for Mana Martinez. Let's talk about why that is. Mana Martinez, 8-2. You guys might know him from the UFC Contender Series. He actually lost to Draco Rodriguez, who we know is now in the UFC, but quickly fired back over on Fury FC, which is good mid-level promotion with 2 wins via punches. I think his hands are really good and underrated. That loss to Draco Rodriguez, while it might not be looking, the best right now, I think you're seeing improvements in his game. You're seeing him bounce back with some good wins. And Guido Canetti is a guy that I'm looking to fade over here. He's on a multiple fight losing streak. I believe he's lost 4 out of his last 5 here. We can see. Yeah, if you guys see here, actually dating back to, these are exhibition bouts, so we're not going to do these because this was actually back in the Ultimate Fighter. But of these last 6 fights, he is 2-4. So guys, he has been in the UFC, but this is a guy that now has gotten finished in 2 of his last fights. So clear to see why Mana Martinez is the favorite. I know you guys are going to be asking me for big parlay pieces. I do think you can parlay Mana Martinez. However, I would be cautious. He is a newer fighter, lower level, and if it gets in the later rounds, Guido Canetti is going to be the guy that has a little bit more experience here. For the pick, it's definitely going to be Mana Martinez. For the bets, Mana Martinez. However, if you're going to bet him, take him inside the distance. It's not a bad bet. You guys can see over here, actually, if we click into these fights. See if I can do this for each. Okay. So I can't see the inside the distance yet. Later in the week, I may or may not do best bets. But like I said, if you guys reach that like mark, we'll talk about all my bets. I'll drop them for free over on Instagram. We can talk them. But I do think the move here is probably going to be Martinez via finish inside the distance. Most of his wins have come via inside the distance submission or KO. And Guido Canetti now in his 4 losses. 5 losses. Okay, we didn't even know this is so low level. And his 4 recent losses, they've all been via finish. So I think the move here is to take Mana Martinez for the pick, but to actually bet him inside the distance, I think, is the way to go. If you're looking for value side, I'm going to constantly be pointing out value, guys. I do not think this fight goes the distance. I do think you see an under. I think Mariano Martinez will be the winner. Could potentially parlay him, maybe on some of those longer parlays, but he will not be in one of my lock parlays for the week. So Mana Martinez over Guido Canetti for our first fight, guys. Alright, so heading back to the fight card now. Our second fight, we have Pat Sabatini versus Jamal Emmers. This is a good matchup in my opinion. Pat Sabatini, I think, may have bored a lot of people in his last fight with his wrestling heavy game plan. You can see here he is a slight underdog, plus 130 versus the return on Jamal Emmers. You can get a minus 136. It's actually pretty good value. Versus Jamal Emmers, who also has pretty good wrestling. However, I think the difference here between these two guys is Emmers is going to have that advantage on the feet that Pat Sabatini will not be able to keep up with. Pat Sabatini 14-3 versus Jamal Emmers 18-5. His most recent win over Tristan Connolly was good. However, do we really think Tristan Connolly belongs in the UFC if he's at that level? I respect every guy who fights in the cage. However, looking at the competition to win, I do not know how much I put into that. So that was his only UFC win coming in. You know, I think if he is going to win his game plan and his path to victory is going to be a very wrestling heavy game plan. However, Jamal Emmers does have a pretty good wrestling background as well, guys. So remember, 18-5 here, has that win over Vince Cachero, and he lost a split decision to Giga Chikadze. Now, this is what I want to talk about. Giga Chikadze is obviously the main event of this card. Jamal Emmers didn't even implement his wrestling heavy game plan in this fight. He stood and he struck with Giga Chikadze. So if you're on Giga first thing tonight, you got to be on Jamal Emmers, because this man, if he just implemented a bit of wrestling, he could have arguably beat Giga and snapped that 6-fight win streak that he is on. So I thought that was a very competitive match. That was very telling that he's improving. His hands are getting a lot better. He was able to stand with such a great kickboxer with so many accolades as Giga has. And yeah, overall, I think really good. You know, that's a really tough ask in his first UFC fight. He bounced back and beat Vince Cachero via unanimous decision. I could see this one potentially going the distance, guys. But overall, my favorite pick for this fight is actually just going to be Jamal Emmers straight up. For those of you guys that are on Pat Sabatini, I could understand. Like I said, his method to victory is definitely going to be that wrestling heavy game plan. But I do think if Jamal Emmers can even just wrestle defensively, stuff the takedown, stay on the feet, he has the advantage there as well. And if he wants to wrestle offensively too, I think he could implement a grinding heavy game plan and potentially tire out Pat Sabatini, who was, you know, tired at the end of his last fight there. So the pick here is going to be Jamal Emmers. Favorite play for this fight is going to be Jamal Emmers as well, straight up. Next we have J.J. Aldrich versus Vanessa Demopoulos. This fight, J.J. Aldrich, very heavy favorite. Minus 325 versus Vanessa Demopoulos, coming back at plus 300. Man. Let's start with Vanessa Demopoulos over here. 6-3, new to the UFC. She did fight on Dana White's Contender Series. Yeah, look at this girl here. Good look. All we're saying. So, when this wants to load in here. Anyways, Vanessa Demopoulos dropped a decision, I believe, or maybe it was a finish inside the distance to a fighter on... Man, why is it not loading? On her Contender debut. I think things that are good about her, she does have some pretty slick submissions. However, she tends to really kind of accept that fight off of her back. You'll see her just accept the bottom game if she gets taken down, which we all know. You know, if you're talking about judges' scorecards, not the best to just see a fighter sitting there on her back for the entire fight. Versus J.J. Aldrich, who probably a little bit underrated. She's had a couple of close fights in the UFC. She's fought some tough girls. Here we go real quick. Corey McKenna was the girl she lost to. And I actually took Corey McKenna in her last fight. She had a good upset win there. You know, she lost to Lupita Godinez, who was okay, LFA, but then fired back with that win over Cynthia Arso. But J.J. Aldrich on the other side, 9-4, has much more experience in the UFC here. I think on the feet she is going to be a lot better. And another thing to note is Vanessa Demopoulos is actually coming up a weight class for this fight. So for the first time, what you're going to be seeing is that flyweight here. Is J.J. Aldrich is going to have a size advantage, which has kind of let her down in some of her fights in the past. You know, she lost to Macy Barber, not a bad loss at all with how Macy's looking lately. Sabina Mazo, 7-1 in a split decision, very good fight. And, way back when, Juliana Lima, and we all know how good Tatiana Suarez is, but that was actually an exhibition for the Ultimate Fighter. So I think her path to victory, if she's wrestling, if she's on top, I think she can defend that armbar from guard or whatever from Vanessa Demopoulos. However, I think keep the fight standing, utilize that jab. She's going to be the bigger girl here because Vanessa is coming up a weight class. I do not love this fight on the money line. I'm trying to give you guys my best picks. With JJ Aldrich being minus 325, I think there are much better spots on the card. Even JJ inside the distance, I believe, was somewhere around, we can see here. Yeah, here we go. Aldrich by KO, plus 450. That's pretty good, actually. Aldrich inside the distance, plus 460. That's not too bad. I could see potential finish here. However, if you want a good bet, the judges are obviously expecting this one to go to decision at minus 500. That's a bit steep in my opinion. You can get fight won't start round 3 at plus 350. That's not too bad. You can get the under 2.5 at plus 260. Honestly, guys, this is low-level women's MMA. Both these girls have a good amount of finishes. I wouldn't be surprised to see that upset submission via Vanessa Demopoulos or JJ Aldrich, potentially spring something off. But for the official pick, it's going to be JJ Aldrich. I don't love that money line at minus 325. I think you got to look at some props or potentially just pass on this fight altogether, guys. I would not be surprised if Vanessa Demopoulos pulls off some submission from guard. Low-level MMA, be careful. I try to avoid these girls in like my locks for the week and things along those lines. But, do with it what you will. So, yeah, JJ Aldrich there. I think it's good. This is a kind of step down in competition for her. She should be Courtney Casey, who's pretty good. Sorry, guys, I have been sick this week, so I'm trying to drink my tea over here, heal up. Up next, we have Dustin Jacoby versus Darren Stewart. This is a fight between two mid-level light heavyweights, I would say. I'd say Darren Stewart, the dentist, is pretty much a busted prospect at this point, to be quite honest. He's a British guy. Has lost pretty much 2 in a row now to Eric Anders, right? Beat Maki Pitolo, which is decent, but Maki Pitolo I don't hold in super high regards either. He's a brawler, but not super technical guy in the UFC. And lost to Bartosz Fabinski as well back in Cage Warriors. So not looking the best. He beat split decision versus Duran Wynn, who's a guy that's just going to really grapple heavy game plan, pretty small guy. And then Bavon Lewis, who I'm not even sure is in the UFC anymore. So of his wins, nothing I hold too highly, and of his losses, I mean, we know he lost this to Eric Anders, right? The fight ended because of illegal knees, but he was well on his way to being finished there. So yeah, Darren Stewart, 12-7, kind of on the chopping block here. He's kind of got to get a win. I think his path to victory, he's been using a lot more wrestling in his most recent fights, actually. And, maybe he could potentially implement that here. But Dustin Jacoby, sorry guys, topology is being a little bit difficult tonight. Dustin Jacoby has looked good since he's come back. He went on the kickboxing scene. And since he has come back, he's gotten quite a few wins. What is going on here? My Wi-Fi doesn't want to work. Yeah, Dustin Jacoby, since he has come back, he has looked good. I think he really polished up his hands. I think he's got pretty good defense. I think that last fight versus Ayan Kutalaba that you saw, he really dropped that first round. It was a 10-8 round for Ayan, and then he fought through it. He won the next 2 pretty decisively, and it ended up being a draw. And, with how the judges have been lately, you could even argue that wasn't even a 10-8 first round. So, I like Jacoby here. I think looking at the odds, let's see. We have... posted. Topology or best fight odds have been a little bit tough. Here we go. Minus 165. Comeback on Darren Stewart. Potentially plus 162. I actually like that a lot. I think Jacoby's a pretty decent play at minus 165. I actually think money is coming in on Darren Stewart. Stewart really needs the win here, so I understand. He's gonna try and stand and bang with Dustin Jacoby. However, I think Jacoby really made those improvements in his striking game. I don't think either guy's crazy durable. I could see a finish inside the distance potentially if you're looking to play that. That could be the move. However, I think my pick for this fight is going to be Dustin Jacoby over Darren Stewart. I think he will get it done. All right, guys, moving on. We have Sam Alvey versus Wellington Turman. This is a spot I see a lot of guys on Sam Alvey here. And, looking at our fight so far, I would pick the favorite Manny Martinez, favorite Jamal Emmers, favorite J.J. Aldrich, favorite with Jacoby. I'm going to stick with my Jacoby pick there. I do like that spot. I see a lot of guys taking Sam Alvey. I understand. I think the best move for this fight is honestly a pass. And let me explain why. It's going to be dog or pass, honestly. So Wellington Turman is the favorite. I think money, however, is coming in actually on Sam Alvey. And we can see that. Sam Alvey, Wellington Turman. Sam Alvey plus 130. Wellington Turman get as good as minus 120 right now. So money is coming in on Sam Alvey, actually. However, in his past several fights, if we take a look here, Smiling Sam, he is now, I believe, 0-5-1 over his past 6 fights. So it has been pretty difficult for him. Alright guys, so here we are. Sorry, having some connectivity issues. Smiling Sam Alvey over his last 5 fights, 6 fights, is 0-5-1. That's just something I like to point out. So a lot of people are on Sam Alvey here, and I understand. He's got great power. It's very tough to submit, tough to finish. However, he's very low output. That's why he's dropping a lot of these in that iron durability that we once knew him for. Look, he's getting knocked out here by Lil Nog, Jimmy Crute. And then recently by Julian Marquez. He was pretty much ground and pound into a sub. And on the other side, we have Wellington Turman, who this guy's been finished in his last 2 fights. It has not been a good showing for Wellington Turman at all. I do think this is a tough one to pick, and the lines kind of suggest that. Honestly, by fight night, we could have a pick 'em fight. Wellington Turman, here we see him 16-5. A jacked guy, he's pretty big, but his chin has not been holding up. Here we see he has dropped 3 of his last 4. Andrew Sanchez, Bruno Silva. I do think Sam Alvey has the power to drop Wellington Turman. However, I do not want to bank on that one punch that Sam Alvey could land. I think Turman's output is going to be better. I think he's going to, have more volume overall. And, for the sake of a dog play, I know a lot of you guys are taking Sam Alvey. However, I would just suggest just staying off this fight. Maybe actually the over in this fight. I know a lot of people are going to be expecting it to go under. That might just be some recency bias. But honestly, I think Wellington Turman's going to take this, guys. Sam Alvey 0-5-1. He needs this win big time. Wellington Turman, been looking at him over on his Instagram. He's motivated, training hard, but I don't want to bet on a guy that's gotten knocked out in 2 of his last fights either. But I don't want to bet a guy that's 0-5-1. Because if this goes to decision, it's going to be greasy. And Sam Alvey just doesn't quite have that output. So pretty much you're relying on him to get a KO. He could KO Wellington Turman. But if he doesn't, guys that are betting Sam Alvey are going to be sweating it. So my official pick is actually going to be Wellington Turman. And as always, guys, stay in tune to my Instagram. Over the week, I'll release my official picks. Like I said, if this video gets enough likes, we'll release my official bets. But I would highly advise just not betting this fight as a whole. I think it is low level. I think there are some great spots on this card that we're going to discuss. We've already talked about a few. But, yeah. So, I'm going to take Wellington Turman. Moving on, we got a great fight here in Alessio Di Chirico and Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Al Hassan, man, this guy used to have the touch of death. However, he's had a tough life, honestly. He got accused of some very serious civil charges that were dropped, actually found to be incorrect. And since he's come back, he has just not looked the same. He's looked drawn out. His body has looked a little bit deflated. He missed weight a couple times, so he had to go up to middleweight now, where he's a lot smaller than a lot of these guys, honestly. And, he's over his last 3, he's dropped 3 in a row, decision, knockout, and another decision. And on the other side, we have Alessio Di Chirico, this guy that over the years I was never too impressed with, but he has the tools. If he just put it together, he could get there. And then we really saw that in his last fight when he stole that hype from Joaquin Buckley, a guy that many people were on. I had Buckley in a parlay in that fight, and man, did Chirico prove me wrong. The Italian fighter, this guy is really starting to put it together. Here we see, he was dropping 3 in a row. Makhmud Muradov, we're going to talk about him soon. Really good. Kevin Holland as well, standing game. We know how that goes with Kevin Holland. And then Zach Cummings, decision, unanimous decision. But spun around, gave Joaquin Buckley a taste of his own medicine. So I really do like him in the spot. If we take a look at the odds, we have, where is he at? I swear, when you're looking for these odds, they're never right in front of your face. So, Chirico, you can get a minus 200. Al-Hassan back at plus 195. So, Al-Hassan could win. He has the power to knock out Chirico. However, I think if Chirico just he has multiple paths to victory. He could grind Al-Hassan up against the cage, get him outside that first round where he's most dangerous, and then pick him apart from range. He's going to have a significant height and reach advantage. He's going to be the bigger guy. He's really putting it together. He's starting on his uphill momentum. And Al-Hassan, unfortunately, sad story. 3 in a row. He's going to drop to 4 in a row here and then potentially be cut from the UFC. So I like Chirico here. I think he is a good parlay piece. We talked about J.J. Aldrich at minus 325. I would much rather have Chirico at minus 200. So much better. Mana Martinez minus 320. I'd still take Chirico at minus 200. I think that's a better spot. It's higher level MMA. You know what you're getting with these guys. Mana Martinez, J.J. Aldrich. There's a lot of unknowns, potential upsets. I think Chirico is well-rounded and a good potential parlay piece that I will most likely be playing this week. I think most likely path to victory is probably going to be decision. I think Al-Hassan, if anything, is still durable. He, he did get that one knockout loss. However, most of the time he is going to decision. I think it at least goes over 1.5. Up next, we have the fight that I think many of us are most excited for this week. Makhmud Muradov versus Gerald Meerschaert. Gerald Meerschaert, or GM3, absolute G in the game. Really good submission game. Pretty decent wrestling. Not too bad stand-up either. However, he trades a lot of wins and losses. You can kind of see here. Never really strings them together. But after being brutally knocked out by Khamzat Chimaev, who we're going to see again in a couple months, guys, he came back and he got that guillotine choke over Bartosz Fabinski, and that was a really good win in my opinion. So that was good to see, see him bounce back. However, we see here with these, kind of knockout losses, him being finished, he is susceptible to be chinned at this point in his career. And, he's got a ton of experience. He will have the experience edge over Makhmud Muradov. Total of 46 professional fights. That's incredible. Been in the UFC forever. On the other side, you guys have Makhmud Muradov, who is the only fighter that is sponsored by the Money Team, Mayweather Money Team. That's right. This guy's an absolute beast. I mean, he comes in incredible shape every time. GM3, I think, will have a 2-inch reach advantage over him. However, this guy is a beast. If you look at this victory he has here, I believe he's on a 13-fight stint of just wins. A lot of his losses came very early in his career. See, as he started off 7-5. Since then, he is now 24-6. So let's do the math there. He is 17-1 in his last 18 fights. That is very impressive, guys. And he's had to fight some good competition. Coming into the UFC, he's really looked like a potential prospect here. 3 wins over Alicio Chirico, who we were just talking highly about, Trevor Smith, and then Andrew Sanchez. And man, this guy is just an absolute animal. His boxing is incredibly clean. His takedown defense is very good. And, the bookies kind of know this. If you take a look at our guy here, Makhmud Muradov. Of course, he's not showing up, but I'm typing him in. He is minus 400 best fight odds versus GM3 plus 415. So a lot of love is coming in on Muradov. I would play him sooner rather than later, guys. This is a key parlay piece this week. I do expect him to get it done. I think if GM3 wants to pull the upset, his path to victory is going to be a submission. However, he's going to have to get Makhmud Muradov to the ground to do that, and that's going to be very tough. I think Muradov can play from range, use his boxing heavy style, and really put the hurting on GM3. And probably finish him inside the distance. I would take Makhmud Muradov here, put him in your parlays, and I would take him inside the distance. Let's see who we got up next. Up next, Andre Petrosky versus Michael Gilmore. Guys, if you have not watched the season of The Ultimate Fighter, I highly encourage you to. It's very good. You'll get a better understanding about three different fights on this card. Well worth a watch. A lot of really, really good fights. Ortega and oh god, Volkanovski as coaches. Put on a good show. Overall, I do think it was good. These guys are both lost in the show. Andre Petrosky, he got beaten by Brian Battle, who we'll be talking about later, and Michael Gilmore by Gilbert Urbina, who we'll be talking about later. However, let's break down this fight. Michael Gilmore is a guy, he talks about his leg kicks and how powerful they are. But if you look at his record, 6-3, hasn't fought the highest level of competition. This guy, he actually quit his job or put it on postpone, I don't know the exact details, to stay in Vegas because he didn't make it on the initial Ultimate Fighter show. And then Dana brought him on for that big spot, but he dropped the ball. You see here, I mean, losing to guys that are 2-0, 0-0, 2-0. He hasn't fought the highest level of competition. But good kicks, like we said, good stand-up game. I think the weakness is his grappling department, and he's susceptible to submissions. Andre Petrosky, on the other hand, absolute unit, D1 wrestler. He dropped that fight, like we did say, to Brian Battle, I believe it was. He was looking really, really good early on, but then gassed out. So potential gas tank issues. I think the UFC is giving him this fight to right the wrong, though, honestly. This was the number one favorite guy to win the tournament, and then that big upset happened, and notice he's on this card again. I think the UFC wants him to succeed. He's a exciting guy, really good throws, grappling, like we said, D1 wrestler. I think his resume is better. I would be worried if this fight gets extended past like that 1.5 round mark. However, I do think Petrosky gets it done here, and I think Petrosky gets it done inside the distance. Looking over at best fight odds. Petrosky -385. Michael Gilmore +410. Wow. I woke up this morning, Andre Petrosky was -300. So a lot of love coming in for Petrosky. However, I do agree with it. I like him in the spot. I think he could be a potential parlay piece. But you got to be careful. If this fight gets extended, Michael Gilmore wants this. There's no denying that. He has the heart to go out there and fight. I just think Petrosky is going to be too technical. Take him down early and finish him either via ground and pound or just submit him. Maybe soften him up and then sink in a rear naked choke, something like that. But Gilmore, I just don't think he's on the technical level that Petrosky is potentially. And I think Petrosky's going to get it done here. However, buyer beware. Petrosky's cardio is untested. It is one of those things where it is kind of a red flag. Moving on up the card, we have Kevin Lee versus Daniel Rodriguez. Man, am I excited for this fight, guys. This is, all right, so note, taking place at welterweight. Kevin Lee is normally a lightweight, so he's actually moving up in weight to 170 to take this fight. And this is a short notice fight for Daniel Rodriguez. He took this fight on a little over a week's notice. So, let's talk about D-Rod first. 15-2. This guy's been an absolute beast in his past couple of fights. Really slick boxing. Really good takedown defense. He is a 10th planet BJJ, I think black belt even. He's really good. He's got an underrated ground game that we don't get to see too often. Just beat Preston Parsons, who probably doesn't belong in the UFC. Beat up on Mike Perry. This says lost to Nicholas Dalby. That was a very, very close fight, though. And honestly, guys, I do think he won that fight. So let's say if he won that, I mean, look at this win streak he's on, guys. He lost another split decision here to Victor Reina. Those are his only 2 losses ever. Really, really good fighter. This guy could potentially be 17-0, guys. So, on the other side, we have Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee is a guy, good wrestling, likes to grapple. However, for whatever reason, he has a really tough time making that lightweight limit. And we saw that he kind of gassed out as fights progressed. So, maybe up here at welterweight, although he might be a little bit smaller compared to some of these guys, his gas tank will be better. And this is a guy that really has all the tools, guys. I don't want people to forget about Kevin Lee because I think he's a really good fighter. He's just had a tough time ever since that Tony Ferguson fight. I mean, he's a guy that looked like he wanted to, fight McGregor. He was in that mixed jacket. He had his shades on at the press conference, things like that. So he was all about it after he beat Chiesa. And then after that, he had those tough fights, but beat Edson Barboza. Really impressive. Gregor Gillespie. That big head kick. But then lost to Charlie Oliveira, sorry, not Ontivera. Charlie Oliveira via guillotine choke. So, This is a close one, guys. Honestly, this is closer to a pick 'em of a fight. And if we take a look at the odds here, not far off. You can get Kevin Lee minus 145, D-Rod at plus 140. I do think the issue here is D-Rod taking this on short notice. I think another issue that a lot of people are failing to recognize is the level of competition at lightweight is much higher than the level of competition at welterweight. I do wholeheartedly believe that. So, I believe Kevin Lee has fought the tougher competition. I think there's a lot of question marks around this fight, though. D-Rod is coming on short notice. Kevin Lee is moving up a weight class. I know a lot of people want to throw money at this fight, but honestly, guys, I would avoid betting it. I would take the over, if anything. I think that is a good move here. See if we have that here. Over 2.5 is minus 115. I like that spot a lot. I think both these guys are durable. I know Kevin Lee has been finished. Maybe the over 2, about minus 140, maybe whatever it comes back at. But, I do think this is a great, great fight. For the sake of a pick, if D-Rod shows up, if he looks good on the scales, doesn't have trouble making weight, I think after that first round, if Kevin Lee can't get him out of there, we've seen those gas tank issues in the past. I think D-Rod could be a potential good dog play here. But then again, so many red flags. I'm going to go with D-Rod. I don't think I'm going to be betting this fight other than the over potentially. I just think the value is on Dana Rodriguez here. I think this fight's closer to a pick 'em. And if you can get D-Rod at plus 140, I do think that's really good value. Kevin Lee's good. He's just had mental lapses in there. And, until he shows me those improvements, I can't be picking him here. So I'm going to go with D-Rod as the official pick. I would caution against betting on this fight unless you do have a strong lean. Maybe something, I don't know. Drop it down below in the comments. But, going to be a great fight. I would just sit back and enjoy the fight, grab a drink, something to eat, whatever. Just enjoy it. Up next, we are getting into our Ultimate Fighter finale fights. And guys, again, if you have not watched the show, I highly recommend go out and watch it. You can see it on ESPN. But first up, we have the tournament championship of the bantamweights. We have Ricky Turcios versus Brady Highstand. And the odds for this fight, we have Brady at plus 155 dog, and Ricky, you can get as good as minus 155. And I think this fight's really going to come down to whoever can implement their game plan better. I watched the show very closely. I really like Ricky Turcios. I think both these guys are great, great people. Brady's game plan is a little tough to watch. However, he fights a very smart game plan. He knows he's a very good wrestler. He's very slick on the ground, good submissions. And he's good at getting guys down to the ground, I'm not as impressed in his wins as I am with Ricky's. However, and he's very young, guys. But he's grown a lot. He hasn't met the highest level of competition, but he has grown a lot in this. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think if he can get Ricky down and hold him there, it's going to give Ricky a tough time. However, Ricky, on the other hand, is a guy that was actually on Dana White Contender Series, and he dropped the ball against Mana Martinez, who we talked about earlier this fight. No, that wasn't it. It was against Boston Salmon back in the day. He did drop a fight to Mana Martinez as well. But, then he bounced back, and then he hopped on the show, and he did really, really good on the show. There's a guy that talks a lot about his traditional martial arts style. He's got really, really good hands, really good kickboxing, really unorthodox style. Man, this guy has a gas tank for days. He absolutely works some of the guys on the show. Really, really good. And I think he's scrappy on the ground. I don't think his wrestling is as good as Brady's, and normally I do pick the wrestlers over the strikers. However, I feel like Ricky is the more well-rounded mixed martial artist as a whole here, and I'm really excited for this fight, guys. I'm going to go with Ricky Turcios here. I like him to get it done. I think he's been improving a ton in the show. Volkanovski's really been coaching him well. He's really been coming into his own. And I'm excited for this. I think Ricky at minus 155 is honestly really good value if you can get him that over on 5 Dimes Sportsbook. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight. Whoever implements their game plan, I think is going to get the dub. But I'm going to side with Ricky here. Don't be too shocked if Brady goes out there and sticks to a very smart wrestling game plan, though, because he has been doing that. He knows he's good at it. However, if he stands with Ricky, different conversation. Up next, Brian Battle versus Gilbert Urbina. This is actually supposed to be Brian Battle versus Gore. I forget his first name. Gore. However, Gore had to pull out with an injury. This is the middleweight finale of the Ultimate Fighter. And Brian Battle was actually one of the last picks on the show. Gilbert Urbina, you guys might recognize him. He has two brothers that have also tried out, but never actually officially made it to the UFC. Both dropped it in the Ultimate Fighter. He actually beat Michael Gilmore, but then dropped a decision in his next fight. Or actually, I believe he was finished in his next fight. But he's here on short notice, taking on Brian Battle. This is a good fight, guys. Odds, we got Brian Battle minus 155, Gilbert Urbina plus 150. A little lower level than some other fights on this card. However, good fight. I think Gilbert Urbina has good submissions, good game plan. He's got decent striking, actually, as well. You come in here, look at his record. Maybe not the most impressive. He is 6-1. However, you gotta. I always try to eye up that level of competition that these guys are fighting. And if you see here, he lost to Sean Brady in a decision, which is not bad. Sean Brady, I hold very, very highly. He actually, my coach Eddie Torres, who fights in CFFC, is training partners with Sean Brady. Now Sean Brady's in the UFC, and man, that guy was supposed to fight Kevin Lee tonight, and Kevin Lee should be thanking his lucky stars that he didn't, because I was going to be all over Sean Brady in that spot, honestly. But yeah, you see here, beat a 5-0 guy, not bad, 7-3. Brian Battle on the other side, I think this guy's striking has really come into it. His takedown defense, super solid, was able to stuff most of the takedowns of some of his opponents. And strung together two really good wins on the show. I think he's grown so much on the show from beginning to finish. He was one of those last picks, but man, he's coming in scary and looking really good. So I am going to take Brian Battle, Pooh Bear, over Gilbert Urbina here, and I am looking forward to this fight. I think Gilbert Urbina is a good fighter as well, but Brian Battle, I think he's been making the improvements. I think he's going to go out there and really work for it. I think he really wants this. He knows everything that's at stake here, and this is the guy that's been winning throughout the show. Gilbert Urbina already dropped a loss, and I believe Gilbert Urbina lost to Andre Petroski, who Brian Battle won. So we're not going to pay too much attention to MMA math, but something to consider, I guess. All right, guys, we made it to the main event, and man, am I excited for this one. We have Edson Barboza versus Giga Chikadze. And man, this is going to be fireworks of a fight. I do anticipate this fight to stay standing for the majority of it. You have Edson Barboza, you can get a minus 105 on DraftKings. Giga Chikadze minus 103. Best fight odds, minus 105 here on 5 dimes. So pretty much both these guys that pick them. This is a 50-50 fight according to the bookies. And I'm very excited for this. Giga Chikadze, 13-2. Not as much MMA experience as Edson Barboza, however, very acclimated kickboxer. I believe out of Glory Kickboxing, and trains out of King's MMA. Really good win streak here, as you guys can see. He's been, just beating guys left and right. Remember we talked about that split decision over Jamal Emmers there. Since then, though, Erwin Rivera, Omar Morales, Jamie Simmons. Best win, that Cub Swanson, man, the Giga kick that he talks about. That was absolutely brutal when he hit Cub with that. But really, really good. And you see, losses here earlier in his, decision here, his first fight. These are all kickboxing bouts, so don't take too much into there. But then rear naked choke here. But on the other side, you have Edson Barboza. And man, this is a guy that has been around forever. He has fought the murderer's row of the lightweight and now featherweight division. Keep in mind, Edson Barboza's dropped down. And since he has dropped down, he has looked like an absolute animal. Let's talk about his record since he dropped down. Win over Shane Burgos, that nasty right hook that he landed. Took a couple seconds, then dropped Shane later. Win over Makwan Irmeriakani, who was a very, very good prospect in my opinion. Really like him. And then this loss to Dan Hige, man, I really do feel like Edson Barboza actually won that fight. That was his debut at featherweight, and man, I feel like he won that. I feel like he was, I'm not going to call it a robbery because it was a close fight, but I feel like he did enough to win that fight. So, potentially 3-0 at featherweight. Even this fight with Paul Felder could have potentially won. We do know he got knocked out by Justin Gaethje, but who doesn't? And losses to Kevin Lee, Habib, Tony Ferguson, Michael Johnson, back when Michael Johnson was doing work, and Cerrone back here. I mean, guys, these are like the death's row of fighters. But look at his wins. He's beaten Shane Burgos, Makwan Americani, like I said, probably Danny Ige and Paul Felder. Win over Hooker, Beneil Dariush, who people are talking about might be getting a title fight soon. Gilbert Melendez, Pettis, back when Pettis was good too. Paul Felder, Bobby Green. Bobby Green's a beast, don't sleep on him. He's underrated. But yeah, I think this fight is going to stay standing. I think both these guys have phenomenal kicks. They're going to try and utilize that against each other. See who's the better kickboxer. While Giga Chikadze does have that MMA, lack of MMA experience, rather, he has the kickboxing experience. I think Edson can kind of mix it in. Edson has underrated grappling. If he wants to, he could even go out there and do a takedown on Giga Chikadze like he has in some of his recent fights. The smarter, more savvy veteran in this opinion, potentially. But I think his hands are better than Giga's. I think that's where the advantage is going to be. I think he's going to be a little bit faster. I think both these guys do have brutal kicks. Both of them are very durable. However, very curious to see how far this fight's going to go. I do 5-round fight. Haven't seen Giga in a 5-round fight. Could potentially end inside the distance. Let's check over here, best fight odds, see what we can get. On our props, fight goes the distance plus 125. Very interesting. Very interesting. I do like this fight up to a point. I think the later rounds could start getting dicey though. But I am going to take Edson Barboza in this fight. I actually do think he's going to close at an underdog. The money's been coming in on Giga. However, pick 'em fight. So overall for the fight, picks and predictions. And again, these can change over the course of the week, guys. Weigh-ins come out, new interviews come out, things like that. However, I like putting this video out to you guys early so you can get those early bets in before the lines move too much. So moving through them, we have Mana Martinez, I think beats Guido Canetti inside the distance. Jamal Emmers over Pat Sabatini in a close match, probably decision. JJ Aldrich, most likely decision over Vanessa Demopoulos. Dustin Jacoby, decision over Darren Stewart, I would say. I said Wellington Tournament. I'm going to stick to it. Probably decision over Sam Alvey. However, do not be surprised if Sam Alvey goes out there and gets that knockout. Not very confident in that fight. Alicio Di Chirico, I think, takes out Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Either late finish or decision victory. Mahmoud Murdov finishes Gerald Mearshart inside the distance. Mark my words. Petrosky is going to take out Michael Gilmore inside the distance. Probably submission. I think Gilmore is tough. He wants it. You have to really, really beat this guy up. However, you put somebody to sleep, So I think Petrosky by submission is good play. I am going to go with... Oof. You guys are going to have to stay tuned later this week. I keep bouncing back and forth in this fight. This is tough. I got to see the weigh-ins for this one. Kevin Lee's coming up a weight class, and D-Rod is coming in on late notice. There's just too many red flags, too many things I got to see. Right now, probably leaning Daniel Rodriguez, though. And he is a... plus 140 underdog, so potential underdog play there. After that, Ricky Tercios, decision win over Brady Highstamp. Brady really wants it, good guy. Brian Battle, I could see him finishing Gilbert Urbina inside the distance. And then Edson Barboza, he's a late finish or maybe decision over Giga Chikadze. But those are my picks and predictions, guys. But before I send you off, let's talk about some potential parlay pieces here. My favorite parlay pieces that I'm eyeing up currently. We got to talk about Mahmoud Muradov. I really, really like him here. Get him at minus 400. Really good odds over on DraftKings, I believe that is. Let's close out of this. All right, so Mahmoud Muradov you can get over here on BetMGM minus 400. Other parlay pieces, I like Petrosky here. Di Chirico, really good value at minus 200 in my opinion. Man, I think the line is closer because people know Al Hassan can get the knockout. However, I hate picking guys or betting on guys just in the off chance that they get that one knockout punch. Start getting a little more dicey, but potential parlay pieces. I like Mana Martinez next. Minus 320, little steep. I don't like JJ Aldrich at minus 325, guys. I would really caution against that. Women's MMA, maybe on like a later parlay if you guys do very, very long legs. Not too high on that. Jamal Emmers, straight bet I like. Minus 136. It's pretty good value in my opinion. I would caution against D-Rod versus Kevin Lee unless you have a strong take either way, guys. It's going to be a close fight. I'm very excited for that one. I like I'm pretty confident in Ricky Turcios here. I think he gets the job done. Man has looked really solid. Minus 155, good value. Same thing with Brian Battle, man. The guy has been an underdog this whole show, and he's really been shining through. It'd be great to see the underdog get the win. One of the last picks on the show. That'd be really good to see. And then Barboza, Chikadze. Right now, I am on Barboza. I'm at minus 105 on DraftKings. I would caution against parlaying him. Bet small if you're going to do a straight bet. But going to be looking into some props as the week progresses, guys. Kobe minus 165. That's one we didn't talk about. Could potentially. But looking into some props, looking into some round betting. Like I said, guys, please, if you have not already, follow the channel. Give this video a like. Drop any comments if you guys have any questions or anything like that. But the goal is this week, if we can get 25 likes on this video, I will drop my entire betting card over on my Instagram for free, as I have been doing the past couple of weeks. Now, and if we can hit these markers, I'll continue to drop them for free. Otherwise, I'll probably go back to what I was doing before. But, if you guys really like this video, let me know. I would love to do more breakdown videos. We got LFA, we got PFL this week. And I'm going to have bets on those as well, guys. So like this video up if you really enjoy it. And let's, talk MMA. This is PK.MMA, not PK UFC. So we've got a lot of really good opportunities here. Really looking forward to it. And, I'm excited to get into it with this channel. Over the next couple weeks, I'm going to be dropping a video on gambling strategies. I'd like to go over my best betting tips. I want to do that tonight. However, I wanted to get this card out to you guys before the lines change too much. And just really excited to get at the channel. Hopefully you guys enjoy these videos. I put a lot of work into them, a lot of work into my UFC research. But, it really pays off. Over the past couple, since July 10th, as a matter of fact, 391% increase in bankroll. I try to track that stuff on my page. I'll post my bets up so you guys can hit me up, ask them. I don't care. But, my goal isn't to brag or put out fake results, anything like that. My goal is to help everybody go out and make some money. It's us against the bookies, guys. It's not us versus each other, things like that. So, I'm putting out all my content for free. Hopefully it can help you guys make your decisions, things like that. But, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give me a shout out. Drop any comments, any questions you have. I try to be very active in responding to anybody. On my Instagram, again, PK.MMA Picks, or on my YouTube channel here, that we're trying to grow, guys. So with that, talked long enough. So signing off, PK.MMA, and see you guys in the next video.